Welcome back to the Canadian Citizens Journal. Today we are looking at Chapter 22 of the Constitutional Manual. This chapter covers transportation and communication. The writers of the 1867 Act knew that for Canada to survive, it had to be physically connected. That is why Section 92 gives provinces control over local works and undertakings, but Section 91 says that if a work connects provinces or extends beyond a province, it belongs to the federal government. This is why your provincial government handles the highway in your town, but the federal government handles the railways and the airlines. If it crosses a border, Ottawa is the boss. But the most interesting part of this chapter is about communication. Because radio, television, and the internet did not exist in 1867, the courts had to decide where they fit. Using the Hogg power we discussed earlier, the courts decided that because airwaves and digital signals don't stop at provincial borders, they must be under federal control. Hogg explains that this gives the federal government the power to create the CBC, regulate private broadcasters, and, most importantly in 2026, regulate the internet and social media platforms. However, there is a limit. While the federal government can regulate the signal or the content, they cannot necessarily regulate the business of a local company just because it uses a phone or a computer. This creates a complex overlap where a company might have to follow provincial labor laws but federal communication laws. In 2026, the big question is how far the federal government can go in managing the digital square. If the internet is a national communication system, does that give Ottawa the right to decide what is harmful or misleading? Chapter 22 shows us that while the federal government has the power to manage the system, that power is supposed to be about technical connectivity, not necessarily controlling the thoughts and speech of the people using it. Understanding this chapter helps us see that the cables and signals that connect us are legally different from the ground we walk on. Next time, we are moving into Chapter 23 to look at the power over banking and insolvency. We will look at how the government controls the money supply and what happens when people or businesses go broke. Until then, keep looking at the evidence. This is the Canadian Citizens Journal.